For over 6 decades, Paul McCartney has been admired as one of the most talented, kind-hearted, and creative musicians on Earth. But behind the charm and the endless smiles lies a man who's seen the darker side of fame, the egos, the tension, and the creative battles that come when too many legends share one stage. Now, at 80, Paul McCartney has finally opened up about 6 musicians he simply couldn't stand working with, not out of hate, but out of artistic frustration, heartbreak, and the cost of genius. Let's begin. Number 6. Phil Spector. When the Beatles were falling apart in 1970, Phil Spector was brought in to mix Let It Be. But McCartney hated what he did. He later said, "He took our simple song and buried it under a mountain of noise." Spector added choirs, strings, and echo to songs Paul wanted to keep raw. The result? One of the biggest creative fallouts in Beatles history. Paul swore he'd never let anyone else decorate his music again. Number 5. Pete Best. Before Ringo Starr joined the Beatles, Pete Best was their original drummer. While fans loved Pete, Paul and John didn't. They felt his timing was off, his energy didn't match theirs. Paul described those early sessions as frustrating. We were moving faster than he was. When the band finally replaced him with Ringo, Paul said it was the hardest but most necessary decision he ever made. Pete Best never forgave them, and Paul never looked back. Number 4. George Harrison. They were brothers in music, but their relationship wasn't always peaceful. During the Beatles' later years, George grew tired of Paul's control in the studio. He once told him, "I'll play whatever you want me to play, or I won't play at all." Paul later admitted, "I pushed George too hard. I thought I was helping, but I was driving him mad." The creative tension between them lasted for years, and although they made peace before George passed, those sessions left a scar on both of them. Number 3. Yoko Ono. Few names in Beatles history stir more emotion than Yoko Ono. While Paul never openly blamed her for the band's breakup, he confessed that her constant presence in recording sessions made it impossible to focus. He once said, "It was John's life, and I respected that. But it wasn't easy writing love songs with someone watching every word." Paul grew frustrated, not out of jealousy, but because he missed the easy chemistry the Beatles once had. Number 2. Michael Jackson. Yes, even Michael Jackson. In the early 80 seconds, Paul and Michael were friends and collaborators. They recorded Say, Say, Say and The Girl Is Mine together. But things changed when Michael bought the entire Beatles song catalog in 1985. Paul was stunned. He later said, "I taught him about publishing, then he bought mine." Though they never fought publicly, Paul was deeply hurt. He said, "That one stung not because of the money, but the friendship." Number 1. John Lennon. Their friendship defined a generation, and their breakup broke millions of hearts. Paul McCartney and John Lennon were opposites who completed each other. But by the late 60 seconds, their creative bond had turned toxic. John grew distant, and Paul became controlling in the studio. Paul once said, "Working with John became impossible. I wanted to create. He wanted to provoke." When the Beatles ended, their rivalry spilled into the press, with each writing songs aimed at the other. Years later, Paul admitted, "We were young, proud, and stupid. But I never stopped loving him like a brother." It took John's death for Paul to truly understand that their tension was just two geniuses struggling to coexist. In the end, Paul McCartney's story isn't about hate, it's about the fragile balance between friendship and fame. He once said, "Music is full of people I couldn't stand at times, and yet those same people made me who I am." Even after all the feuds and frustrations, McCartney continues to perform, still smiling, still creating proof that peace can follow even the stormiest collaborations. You've been watching Hollywood Golden Stars, where we uncover the hidden truths and untold stories behind the legends of music. If you love the classics, subscribe and stay tuned, because next time, Bob Dylan finally reveals the 6 musicians he swore he'd never perform with again.